So she's trying to put out there to the haters, look, it is me giving birth. See, I'm in the hospital dancing like a skank. She's clearly doing this because she's trying to prove to the mainstream media, because now they're starting to talk about this.
There's something very wrong with that shape, in my view.
I think they split within 12 months.
Finally happened. Through years of swirling rumors and carefully crafted statements, Buckingham Palace has shattered the Sussex's story in one swift, brutal move. Late last night, hidden documents were quietly published, files that insiders say Meghan and Harry fought tooth and nail to keep buried. And if even half of what's inside these records is true, their entire narrative about their children, about Archie and Lilibet, could be nothing more than a house of cards.
I believe very accurate speculation that she had been wearing a moon bump. It was the slut job that ricocheted around the world for all the wrong reasons.
The palace didn't just release a bland statement. They dropped receipts, medical records, legal correspondences, confidential contracts, paper trails the Sussex camp never expected to see daylight. The reaction was instant. Within hours, Harry and Meghan were reportedly in crisis talks, their team scrambling to craft a response. But the damage was already spreading, because for the first time, the question isn't whether the rumors are just gossip. It's whether the world has been living a lie all along. And that's just the beginning.
These children were not born by Meghan Markle's body, then they are unable to sit in the line of succession.
Long before these hidden documents saw the light of day, something about Meghan's pregnancies never quite fit the royal mold. Think back to the polished press releases, the absence of hospital steps, the carefully curated photos that skipped every tradition the monarchy had followed for decades. No smiling royal doctors, no official medical bulletins, no joyful moment on the steps of the Lindo wing with a newborn swaddled in white. Instead, there was a single, almost clinical announcement: Archie is here. Public blinked in confusion, wondering how a pregnancy that had seemed so recent had ended in total secrecy. Even the media, usually eager to gush over royal births, seemed bewildered. And then, almost on cue, the speculation began to bubble. While supporters praised Meghan as a modern woman reclaiming her privacy, skeptics whispered darker theories. They pointed to videos where her belly appeared to fold in on itself, creating creases that looked nothing like soft skin. Some called it a trick of the camera, an unflattering angle. Others weren't so sure. Soon the term moon bump started trending, a reference to silicone prosthetics rumored to be used by celebrities and high-profile women who wanted to create the illusion of pregnancy without ever carrying a child. First, the palace ignored it, but silence only fueled the frenzy. Every time Meghan appeared in public, cameras zoomed in on her midsection, dissecting every curve, every wrinkle, every moment that seemed out of sync with the expected timeline. Then came the footage no one could ignore. A video, grainy but clear enough, showing Meghan in a hospital room, swaying and laughing as she cradled an enormous belly. For her fans, it was proof that she had indeed been pregnant. But for others, the footage was even stranger. Why was she dancing around if she was about to give birth? Why did the bump look too big, too low, almost as if it had been strapped on minutes before the camera started rolling? One commentator summed it up bluntly: it looked more like a costume than a body preparing for labor. And while that footage sparked fresh outrage, it was nothing compared to what came next. Out of the shadows stepped a woman known only as DL. Until recently, she was just a footnote in whispered conversations, an unnamed figure alleged to have carried Meghan and Harry's children in total secrecy. But as rumors thickened and the media grew bolder, DL decided she'd had enough. Enough of the non-disclosure agreements, enough of the fear, enough of being treated like a disposable prop in a royal drama she never signed up for. With a trembling voice but unshakable resolve, she started talking. And what she claimed wasn't just tabloid fodder. It was a direct threat to the Sussex's carefully constructed image. According to DL, she was recruited by an elite California agency that specialized in high-profile surrogacies. The arrangement was simple. She would carry the pregnancies, deliver the children, and then vanish. No press, no contact, no trace. She says she was offered generous compensation and airtight confidentiality agreements, but it was the conditions of her pregnancy that truly raised eyebrows. No phone, no visitors, a rotating team of doctors she never fully knew by name, each visit choreographed to the minute, to ultrasound monitored by security. She was a surrogate, yes, but she was also, in her words, a prisoner to a narrative she couldn't control. When she finally delivered, there were no flowers or warm congratulations, just a signed check and a stern reminder that she was never to speak of what had happened. But years later, as Meghan and Harry built an empire on their version of events, DL watched in disbelief. The interviews, the Netflix specials, the memoirs, the speeches about motherhood and sacrifice. Each time Meghan praised the sacred experience of giving birth, DL felt like she was being erased, until she decided she wouldn't be silent anymore. Her decision collided perfectly with the palace's own quiet investigation. For months, aides had reportedly been combing through archived documents, legal correspondences, and medical records, trying to answer one burning question: what was the truth behind Archie and Lilibet's births? According to insiders, the Queen herself, before her passing, expressed concern about the inconsistencies, the timing, the lack of witnesses, constant rumors that refused to die. And when DL came forward offering to share her documentation, her ultrasounds, her medical charts, her correspondence with Meghan's legal team, the palace finally had a reason to act. Last night, the world saw the first evidence that something was profoundly wrong. The documents weren't just hospital records. They included payment logs, dated contracts, and a letter allegedly handwritten by Harry himself, thanking DL for this incredible gift. The authenticity of those papers is already under scrutiny. Meghan and Harry's representatives have so far refused to issue a denial or even a comment. But the public doesn't need a statement to sense that something seismic has shifted. Because while gossip can be ignored, documents, real time-stamped documents, are much harder to spin away. Within hours, social media detonated. Accounts that once praised Meghan as a modern Diana began scrubbing their timelines. Influencers who had built entire platforms defending the Sussexes quietly stopped posting. Even the most loyal publications were forced to admit that the evidence, if verified, could constitute the biggest royal deception in generations. This wasn't just about personal choices or privacy. This was about succession, legitimacy, and the very foundation of royal inheritance. Because if the children weren't born of Meghan's body, as royal protocol demands, their places in the line of succession could evaporate overnight. In private, palace insiders say there's panic. Meetings running late into the night, legal experts poring over centuries-old laws that govern who is and isn't entitled to inherit a throne, crisis teams crafting contingency plans in case public opinion turns so vicious that the monarchy itself is threatened. Some aides are said to be arguing for a total severing of ties with Harry and Meghan, stripping them of every title and privilege to contain the fallout. Others fear that such a move would only escalate the chaos, making the couple into martyrs in the eyes of their remaining supporters. But no matter which strategy the palace adopts, one fact remains. The truth, or at least a version of it, is now out in the open. Meghan, for her part, has reportedly locked herself behind closed doors, speaking only to a tight circle of advisors and lawyers. Harry, according to a source close to the palace, is unraveling. He's lashing out at staff, cutting off friends who ask too many questions, and begging Meghan to issue a denial. But Meghan, ever the strategist, has so far refused, because she knows that once you deny, you open yourself up to even more scrutiny. And if these claims hold up, there's no coming back. No glossy interview can erase a DNA test. No carefully worded statement can outshine the black and white proof of a surrogacy arrangement. This time, the stakes are too high to bluff. Meanwhile, DL isn't hiding. She's reportedly agreed to submit to a DNA test. Her legal team claims to have retained every document, every receipt, every appointment record. If her DNA matches, this story won't just be a scandal. It will be a constitutional reckoning. The monarchy, already battered by decades of controversy, would be forced to confront a betrayal it never saw coming. A betrayal so profound it could rewrite the history of the House of Windsor. But the impact wouldn't end there. Meghan's entire public persona, feminist icon, mother, survivor, would collapse. Her Netflix series about maternal strength would be recast as a carefully scripted performance. Her speeches about the transformative power of childbirth would look like nothing more than lines read from a teleprompter. Even her most devoted followers would be forced to reconcile the gap between the woman they admired and the woman who might have orchestrated an unprecedented deception. As the hours pass with no denial from the Sussexes, the silence itself becomes a story. In the world of media-savvy royals, silence is rarely strategic. It's usually panic. And every minute they wait, the speculation deepens. Why haven't they said anything? Why not produce their own medical records? Why not threaten a lawsuit if the claims are false? The longer the quiet stretches, the more it feels like surrender. And in that void, the questions multiply. What did the Queen really know? Did senior royals suspect all along? Were the public, and the Commonwealth, duped into celebrating births that were staged from start to finish? Some insiders say that behind palace walls, the mood is grim, that this could be the moment the Sussexes are finally cut off completely. No more funding, no more titles, no more connection to the institution they claim to despise yet cling to whenever it benefits them. Others believe Meghan and Harry will double down, spinning this as yet another example of the royal family trying to destroy them. But there's one variable neither camp can control: the DNA. If DL's test matches, all the spin in the world won't change the truth. And in a monarchy built on lineage, that truth is everything. Governs titles, governs inheritance, determines who sits on the throne. If Meghan and Harry knowingly lied about the origins of their children, they didn't just betray their family. They betrayed every person who believed in their fairy tale. As the public waits for the next move, the palace's carefully curated silence is cracking. Aides are leaking fragments of conversations, hints of plans, and flashes of raw emotion. Some say the king himself is furious, convinced that this revelation, true or not, has irreparably damaged the monarchy's reputation. Others whisper that the queen, were she still alive, would have demanded answers long ago. But there's no denying that the reckoning has begun. And it isn't just a scandal. It's a test of whether the truth, no matter how inconvenient, will finally triumph over image. Because in the end, that's what this is about. Whether a modern couple who promised transparency have built their entire legacy on a lie too big to sustain. Countdown has already started. Because while Meghan and Harry's team meets in private, DL's attorneys are preparing the paperwork. Multiple sources confirm that she's willing to testify under oath, publicly and on camera, about every step of the surrogacy process. From the first clandestine meeting in a Los Angeles office to the day she delivered Archie in a clinic that no royal photographer was ever allowed to enter. Her story, once dismissed as conspiracy, is now making its way into court filings that the palace can't simply ignore. And there's another detail that's igniting even more outrage: the financial trail. Inside the documents released by the palace is a series of transactions. Large sums wired to DL's account in carefully spaced intervals. Officially labeled as consulting fees, the money lines up almost perfectly with the trimesters of both pregnancies. Forensic accountants called in to verify the payments say the pattern is consistent with other high-profile surrogacy agreements, which means if those transfers are legitimate, Meghan and Harry may have gone to extraordinary lengths to disguise the arrangement. But while financial records are damning, they're still circumstantial. That's why the DNA test has become the centerpiece of this unfolding drama. DL's team has already contacted a reputable lab, requesting that an independent observer be present for the collection and analysis. Their goal is simple: eliminate any possibility that the results could be challenged as tainted or manipulated. The test confirms a genetic connection. The implications are so vast that even seasoned royal historians are struggling to predict what happens next. Some observers believe the monarchy will be forced to rewrite official records, acknowledging that Archie and Lilibet were not born to Meghan's body. Others say the titles could be revoked altogether, stripping the children of their prince and princess designations and removing them from the line of succession. The legal precedent is murky. There has never been a case like this. No handbook for what to do when modern technology collides with centuries-old tradition. And that uncertainty is what makes this story so explosive. Because it's not just about Harry and Meghan anymore, it's about the credibility of the institution itself. Public, meanwhile, is split between disbelief and grim fascination. In one camp, loyal Sussex supporters insist this is just another smear campaign, orchestrated by palace courtiers determined to crush any challenge to their authority. In the other camp are those who feel vindicated, convinced that years of whispers and rumors have finally been validated. But even among Meghan's staunchest defenders, there's a growing unease. this was all an invention, if the belly bumps, the staged photos, the carefully timed press releases were part of an elaborate ruse, what does that say about the causes she championed? About the charities that trusted her? About the millions who donated in her name? Questions don't stop there. As the documents circulate, they're raising new suspicions about the couple's motives. Some commentators argue that Meghan saw motherhood not just as a personal milestone, but as a strategic move, a way to secure her place in the royal hierarchy and the public's affections. They point to her Netflix series, where she spoke at length about the transformative power of pregnancy, to the magazine covers celebrating her as a symbol of modern womanhood, to the speeches where she described childbirth as a moment of ultimate vulnerability and strength. If DL's claims are true, those moments weren't just misleading. They were performances designed to build a brand that was never real. Behind the scenes, the mood is equally tense. Palace aides are said to be holding daily crisis meetings, weighing their options. Some have urged the king to issue a statement acknowledging the controversy and pledging transparency. Others warn that any acknowledgement could be seen as tacit validation of DL's story. For now, the official line remains unchanged, no comment, but that strategy is looking increasingly unsustainable, because every day that passes without a denial fuels the perception that Meghan and Harry have something to hide. Even within their own camp, there are fractures. Sources close to Harry say he's desperate to release a statement defending their children's legitimacy. But Meghan, wary of the legal implications, has so far refused. Advisors are reportedly split on whether to cooperate with the investigation or go on the offensive. And in the middle of it all, 2 children are growing up under a shadow that no one seems capable of lifting. It's easy to forget, amid the headlines and the outrage, that Archie and Lilibet are real people, innocent bystanders in a saga that was never theirs to begin with. Whether born through surrogacy or not, they will one day read these stories. They will see the videos, the speculation, the debates over their identities, and they will have to reconcile the public narrative with whatever private truths their parents decide to share. That alone is a tragedy, no matter where your sympathies lie.